Reaching C1 English is an absolutely massive achievement. It means you've mastered so much,
Yeah,
and you should genuinely feel proud of that.
definitely.
But sometimes, even at this advanced stage, there's this subtle feeling, isn't there?
Hmm.
Like you've hit an invisible wall preventing that truly exceptional native-like fluency from clicking into place.
Yeah, it's a really common experience, actually. You're already communicating effectively, but you sense there's another level, maybe a layer of polish
Yeah, Polish, exactly.
and naturalness, that makes conversations feel effortless, almost like a native speaker.
Right.
That exact challenge is, well, it's the heart of today's deep dive.
Precisely. Our mission today is to help you, the advanced learner, bridge that gap from really good to effortlessly exceptional.
Hmm.
We're moving past the basics and diving deep into the nuances, the nitty-gritty details of English that elevate your communication to truly natural, sophisticated levels.
And to guide us, we're drawing from an incredible resource, C1 Level Tips to Improve Your English.
Ah, okay.
It's just packed with practical, actionable advice. And it's going to be our roadmap, really, as we explore what it takes to break through that C1 plateau.
So we've distilled the most transformative insights from this guide.
Yeah.
We'll be navigating through spontaneous conversations, expanding your vocabulary with genuine depth, fine-tuning your fluency,
All the key areas.
mastering subtle grammar structures, leveling up your reading, writing with real impact, and even embracing the crucial aspect of cultural fluency.
It's a lot, but it's crucial stuff.
Our aim is to extract the wisdom you need to truly sound exceptional. So, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's begin where real language lives in conversation.
Right.
At C1, you've likely mastered prepared presentations or, ordering food without a hitch.
Sure, the predictable stuff.
Exactly. But what about those real, unpredictable, spontaneous conversations?
Yeah.
The ones where you're thrown a curveball, like an unexpected question in a job interview. Or maybe a heated debate at a social gathering.
That's often where the C1 plateau really shows up, isn't it?
That's it. That's the spot.
That's where the rubber meets the road. The guide places a huge emphasis on practicing realistic, spontaneous conversations. Why is that distinction so critical for C1 learners?
Well, it's because real life is inherently chaotic. You just can't script it.
Yep.
You need to think on your feet, respond authentically, and navigate unexpected turns. The guide offers this fantastic example, Alex and Maria discussing an ethical dilemma at work.
Okay.
Alex is considering bending the truth a bit for the company's benefit. It's a situation, many of us can probably relate to.
Absolutely. And Maria's response is it's a masterclass in nuanced diplomatic communication.
It really is.
She says, that's a tough call. I believe in transparency, but in competitive markets, some might argue it's strategic rather than deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
She's not just stating an opinion, she's weighing both sides, showing understanding, and using precise yet diplomatic language. What makes her approach so effective there?
Well, what's truly insightful about Maria's response is how she avoids an immediate judgment,
Yep.
right? She frames it as a tough call, which immediately opens the door for discussion rather than just shutting it down.
Right, it invites conversation.
Exactly. And then she presents opposing viewpoints with careful phrasing like, some might argue,
Oh.
instead of stating them as absolute truths. This demonstrates a high level of linguistic sophistication and, frankly, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
The guide then highlights some killer phrases you can sort of borrow or integrate.
Like that's a gray area. It's so succinct
Yeah.
and immediately conveys understanding of complexity without needing a long explanation.
Totally.
Or, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah,
That's a brilliant way to acknowledge someone's perspective, even if you're about to voice a different one.
exactly. It builds rapport.
Yeah.
And let's agree to disagree is perfect for gracefully exiting an argument without, burning bridges.
Essential skill sometimes.
Totally. Or to show empathy and shared understanding. If I were in your shoes, these aren't just polite expressions, they're actual social tools.
Yeah.
They allow you to navigate tricky dynamics, maintain rapport, and just sound incredibly natural.
So how do we actively practice building this spontaneous conversational muscle?
Yeah.
The guide has a really innovative suggestion, recording yourself responding to prompts.
Yes. It's incredibly powerful because it gives you immediate objective feedback. You can pick an ethical dilemma, a current news topic, or even something completely random like, what's the weirdest food combination you've ever tried?
Okay.
Record maybe a 2-minute response and then listen back. The self-critique is absolutely key.
What should you listen for?
Well, where did you hesitate? Could your argument have been clearer? Did you miss an opportunity to use a more advanced phrase or connect your ideas more smoothly?
That introspection is invaluable. You can use tools like VoiceThread or SpeakPipe for recording and even sharing for feedback.
Yeah, those are great.
This disciplined practice sounds like a real game changer for building that spontaneous conversational fluency.
It really is.
So if you're listening, maybe pick a topic right now, record a quick 2-minute response, and just give it a listen. What stands out to you? Now, once you're feeling a bit more comfortable navigating those spontaneous conversations, the next frontier is having the right words. Not just any words, right? But the ones with the perfect fit and nuance. It's about expanding your vocabulary with depth, rather than just adding more entries to a list.
That's such a crucial distinction for C1 learners. It's no longer about sheer quantity of words,
Right.
but truly understanding their inner workings. So the question is, how do you achieve that depth?
Yeah.
The guide's core advice is learn words in context, not in isolation.
Yeah.
You're moving beyond rote memorization to understanding how words, hang out with other words.
And it's precisely where collocations come in. Right?
Exactly.
We're talking about words that naturally go together, like strong coffee instead of powerful coffee.
Right. Powerful coffee just sounds a bit off. Or bitter disappointment rather than maybe sour disappointment.
Got it. Using these natural pairings immediately makes your English sound more authentic.
Absolutely. And then you have idioms, those colorful phrases that rarely make literal sense,
Wow.
like kick the bucket for dying or spill the beans for revealing a secret.
They're tricky.
They are notoriously tricky to master, but they're incredibly common and add so much flavor to your language, and they're fun.
True. The guide also emphasizes connotations, which is about the sort of emotional or cultural baggage a word carries beyond its literal meaning, like cheap versus inexpensive.
Good example.
While both refer to low cost, cheap often carries a negative feel, right, like poor quality,
Yeah.
whereas inexpensive is more neutral, just factual.
Yeah, understanding that nuance is vital.
So to truly level up your vocabulary, the guide introduces a powerful technique, thematic vocabulary clusters.
Yes, this is great. Instead of learning random words, you group them around a specific theme. Let's take business and innovation as an example.
Okay, that's smart. So within that theme, what kind of words would you be looking for?
Well, you'd want words like disruptive innovation, which means something that fundamentally shakes up or creates a new market.
Like Uber or something.
Exactly, like Uber did for transportation. Or scalable model, which describes something that can grow efficiently, like an app designed to handle millions of users without crashing.
Ah, okay. And I imagine you'd also include terms like market saturation, maybe profit margin, or competitive edge within that same cluster.
Precisely. And the benefit here is that living words within these clusters, seeing their relationships and how they're used together, it makes them stick far better than just an isolated definition.
Yeah, you see the connections.
Exactly. So our challenge to you listening, pick a theme. Maybe technology, environmental issues, or even emotions, and build a vocabulary cluster of maybe 5 to 10 related words.
Okay.
Find their definitions and, crucially, see them in multiple example sentences. Tools like Quizlet can be incredibly helpful for organizing these.
Right. And here's the ultimate goal. Don't just learn these words. You need to use them.
Yes. Actively drop them into your conversations or your writing.
That's how you truly integrate them into your active vocabulary and go from knowing a word to truly owning it.
Well said.
Speaking of owning it, let's talk fluency. It's that magical quality where your speech sounds effortless, like you're just gliding through the language without a second thought. It's what makes native speakers sound so smooth and natural. So how do we cultivate that?
Well, the guide offers a killer tip here. Shadowing.
Shadowing it.
This is where you listen to a native speaker from a podcast, a news clip, maybe even a scene from a movie, and you try to repeat what they say in real time, or just a split second behind them.
Wow.
You're mimicking their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm, even their pauses. Everything. It's like being their vocal shadow.
That sounds incredibly challenging, almost like a linguistic workout.
It is, but that's why it's effective.
I could see how intensely effective it would be, though. You're not just repeating words, you're copying the whole musicality and vibe of how they speak.
Exactly. The musicality, the vibe. What kind of audio sources are ideal for advanced learners doing this?
Yeah, what should we listen to?
For sure. The guide recommends some excellent, authentically complex sources. For staying current and hearing nuanced discussions, The Daily from the New York Times is fantastic.
Good one.
If you're into epic storytelling and longer narratives, hardcore history provides rich, layered language.
Oh yeah, Dan Carlin.
And for thought-provoking discussions on various topics, Freakonomics is really engaging. The key is that these aren't dumbed-down English. They're genuinely challenging.
Right, they really push you, which is what you need at C1. The guide also talks about focusing on specific nuances like connected speech, intonation, and sentence stress.
Yes.
For someone trying to sound more native, how do these elements come into play?
They're absolutely fundamental. Connected speech is how native speakers often smush words together,
Right.
Think about what do you want to do, often becoming what I am.
Right, yeah.
Mimicking this not only makes you sound more natural, but it also helps with your listening comprehension.
Yeah. Okay.
Intonation, on the other hand, is the melody of your voice, how it rises and falls to convey emotion or highlight certain information. It's huge.
And sentence stress is about which words you hit harder, which completely shifts the meaning.
Totally.
Consider the difference between "I never said that" versus "I never said that." The meaning is entirely different based on where the emphasis falls.
Exactly. That subtle change can convey a world of nuance.
So how do we work on these specifics?
Precisely. To help you zero in on these nuances, tools like Forvo can help you hear words pronounced in different accents, which is great.
Okay.
Youglish shows you words in context on YouTube videos, which is fantastic for seeing real usage.
Oh, cool.
And Elsa Speak can even give you personalized feedback on your pronunciation, identifying specific areas to improve.
Very useful.
Mm-hmm.
So for your fluency workout this week, challenge yourself to shadow a 2-minute clip from one of these recommended podcasts. Focus intently on matching the speaker's flow and rhythm, not just the words themselves.
Yeah, it's a powerful step towards that effortless sound.
All right, let's tackle grammar. I know. At C1, the word grammar might conjure images of dusty textbooks.
Laughs. Yeah, a bit dry, maybe.
But the guide isn't talking about basic verb tenses here. It's about subtle structures that let you express complex ideas with incredible precision and sophistication.
Exactly. What's truly fascinating here is how these aren't just rules. They're sophisticated linguistic tools, almost secret weapons, you could say,
Ooh, I like that.
add depth and nuance to your communication. The guide highlights structures like mixed conditionals, inversion, cleft sentences, and nominalization.
Okay.
These are the elements that make your English sound truly advanced.
You mentioned mixed conditionals. What's the practical power of using those in everyday English? Like, when would you use one?
Well, mixed conditionals allow you to combine different time frames and hypothetical situations, which is incredibly nuanced.
How so?
For example, if I had taken that job that's the past condition, I would be living in New York now that's the present result.
Ah, I see.
It's a very precise way to link past actions to present realities, or vice versa. Really useful for regrets or thinking about alternatives.
That makes perfect sense for expressing complex regret or alternative histories. Okay, how about inversion? What's the effect of flipping the word order like that?
Inversion is a fantastic way to add emphasis or formality. Instead of saying, I have never seen such an incredible performance, which is fine,
Yeah, normal.
you can invert it to, never have I seen such an incredible performance.
Oh, wow. Much more dramatic.
It is. It's a more dramatic, impactful way to express a strong feeling, often used in formal writing or maybe more elevated speech.
Ooh, I like that. And cleft sentences, they sound like they focus attention on something specific. Is that right?
They do. Cleft sentences are brilliant for highlighting a particular piece of information.
Like how?
For instance, instead of just saying, teamwork made the project successful, you could say, it was the teamwork that made the project successful.
Oh, okay. Puts the spotlight right on teamwork.
Exactly. It directs the listener's attention directly to teamwork as the key element. Really useful for clarifying or emphasizing.
And finally, nominalization. That sounds a bit academic, maybe a bit technical. What's its practical use?
It can sound academic, but it's used a lot. Nominalization is basically about turning verbs or adjectives into nouns, often for a more formal or concise style.
Example.
So instead of, they decided to postpone, and that surprised everyone, you could say, the decision to postpone surprised everyone.
Ah, okay. It compacts the information.
It does. It compacts information and is very common in academic or business writing. Makes it sound more objective sometimes.
These really do sound like tools for precise expression, not just grammar rules. How does the guide suggest we practice integrating them?
Yeah, the best way is active production. Try writing sentences using these structures.
Just dive in.
Exactly. You can even take simple sentences you've written before and try to rewrite them using one of these advanced
Oh,
structure.
that's a good idea.
For instance, change "I didn't know about the plan" to "had I known about the plan, I would have acted differently," using inversion there.
Nice.
And of course, tools like Grammarly can help you check and refine your output as you practice.
That's a great challenge. Pick just one of these structures, maybe inversion or a cleft sentence, and try writing 5 sentences with it this week. Even share them with a study buddy if you have one.
Good plan.
Moving on to reading at C1, it's not just about what you read, is it? It's also how you read it to maximize your learning. The guide really stresses diversifying your materials.
That's incredibly important. To truly elevate your English, you need to expose yourself to different styles and registers.
So not just novels or news.
Right. So, yes, academic journals, opinion editorials, fiction, biographies, and even things like legal or business texts, if that's relevant to you. Each genre presents unique vocabulary, different sentence structures, and ways of arguing or telling a story.
And it's not just about passively consuming the words on the page. The guide recommends a truly active reading strategy.
Yes, this is key. First, skim for the main ideas to get the big picture. Then, if needed, scan for specific details. Crucially, highlight new words and try to learn them in context.
Not just looking them up later.
Right, see how they're used. And after each paragraph or section, summarize it in your own words to really check your understanding.
Why is that summarizing step so powerful? What does it do?
Summarizing forces you to actively process the information and articulate it in your own words, which really solidifies understanding. It proves you didn't just read the words, you grasped the meaning.
It's like working out your brain while you read.
Exactly. For high-quality sources, the guide specifically recommends things like *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari for sophisticated nonfiction,
Great book.
articles from The Economist for in-depth global analysis, and essays from The New Yorker for just exquisite prose and cultural commentary.
Those are fantastic, challenging choices, perfect for C1. So our challenge to you, grab one of these sources or any advanced text you have and try the active reading strategy for just 15 minutes. Highlight 3 to 5 new words you encounter, and then maybe cover the text and summarize what you just read in your own words. You might be surprised at how much more you absorb.
Definitely worth trying.
All right, let's talk about writing. At C1, you've likely nailed the fundamentals of grammar and structure, right? So the focus now shifts to style, making your writing clear, engaging, and truly impactful.
Yeah, style becomes paramount. And the guide's biggest, most impactful tip here is to edit ruthlessly.
Ruthlessly. Yeah.
You need to be your own toughest critic. Don't just write, rewrite, cut unnecessary words, rearrange sentences, refine your phrasing until your message truly shines. It's about polishing.
And they offer some concrete techniques to do that. Things like varying your sentence length to keep the reader engaged.
Crucial. Avoids monotony.
Matching your tone to your specific audience. Starting each paragraph with a strong, clear topic sentence and using effective linking words like consequently, furthermore, or in contrast to ensure smooth transitions between your ideas.
Those linking words are so important for flow. They even provide a powerful before and after example that really hammers home the power of editing.
Oh, yeah.
The before paragraph is very basic and choppy. Many people think social media is bad. It makes people feel sad. They compare themselves a lot.
Okay, yeah, grammatically correct, but yeah.
Exactly. It lacks sophistication. But then the after version. Social media can negatively impact mental health by encouraging constant comparison, which often leads to feelings of inadequacy and anxiety.
Wow. That's concise, impactful, and flows beautifully. The improvement is striking.
Isn't it? That example perfectly demonstrates the transformative power of careful editing and revision. Tools like Grammarly or the Hemingway app can certainly help you polish your work.
Yeah, they can catch things.
But the critical eye, the ruthless editor, that comes from within. You have to cultivate that.
So our call to action for you. Write a short paragraph on any topic you like, maybe something you read about today. Then immediately after, edit it ruthlessly using these tips. See if you can transform your before into a compelling after.
Very exercise.
Last, but certainly not least, let's talk about cultural fluency. This is a big one. You can master all the grammar and vocabulary in the world, but idioms, jokes, and even sarcasm can still trip you up because they are so deeply tied to cultural context.
It's so true. These are often the hidden hurdles at the advanced level. The guide gives excellent examples of idioms. Take bite the bullet, which means to endure a difficult or unpleasant situation you can't avoid.
Right.
Or the ball is in your court, meaning it's your turn to make a decision or take the next step. Using these correctly isn't just about vocabulary. It shows an understanding of the shared cultural shorthand. It makes you sound incredibly natural.
And it extends beyond just idioms, doesn't it? It's about understanding the broader cultural context of communication itself.
Absolutely. For instance, in many English-speaking cultures, direct disagreement can sometimes be seen as impolite or confrontational.
Yeah.
So a native English speaker might say, I see your point, but, or that's an interesting perspective, however, instead of a blunt, you're wrong.
Yeah.
That seemingly small nuance can prevent miscommunication or offense.
Understanding those implicit rules is key.
Exactly. The guide suggests one of the best ways to pick up on these nuances and cultural references is through immersive practice, especially watching TV shows or movies.
Oh, okay. Fun homework.
Yeah, you hear the language used naturally, in context, complete with body language and social cues. You see how people interact.
For great everyday humor and idioms, the guide mentions shows like The Office or Friends.
Classics for this purpose.
They're fantastic for catching these elements because they portray common social interactions where these nuances play out all the time.
Definitely. So, our challenge for you: watch an episode of a show you enjoy, maybe one of those or something similar, specifically listening for 2 or 3 idioms or cultural references you hear, note them down.
And then,
The next time you have a chance, maybe with a language partner or even just practicing aloud, try using them in a conversation. It's a fun, low-pressure way to sound more native and culturally aware.
nice. Love that.
Wow.
We've covered a remarkable amount of ground today, from conversation to culture. And the guide really brings it all together with the concept of a daily C1 English routine.
Yes.
Think of it as a personalized workout plan for your English skills, emphasizing the absolute importance of consistent effort.
I think this routine is brilliant because it's so structured yet flexible. It breaks it down into manageable chunks. Here's their suggested breakdown for maximizing your daily exposure and practice.
Okay, let's hear it.
15 minutes, read the news aloud, great sources like BBC or The Guardian. This helps pronunciation and rhythm. 10 minutes, work on your thematic vocabulary notebook using tools like Quizlet or Notion, just reinforcing those clusters.
Okay.
20 minutes, shadow a podcast from platforms like Spotify or Audible. Really focus on that fluency.
That key shadowing practice.
15 minutes, write a journal entry and maybe use Grammarly or Hemingway for refinement. Active output. And 15 minutes, speak with a language exchange partner through apps like Hello, Talk, or Tandem. Real interaction.
What strikes me about that routine is how incredibly doable it feels when broken down like that. That's just about an hour and a quarter a day, which is a manageable commitment for many people.
Exactly. It's not overwhelming.
For listeners who might struggle with finding that full hour, maybe they're super busy, are there 1 or 2 activities that give the biggest bang for your buck to start with?
That's a great question. If you absolutely have to pick just 1 or 2 to start, I'd say consistent shadowing and focused vocabulary work probably provide immense value for the time invested.
Why those 2?
Shadowing directly improves your fluency, your pronunciation, your intonation, that natural sound. And targeted vocabulary clusters truly deepen your understanding and expressive power.
Right. Fluency in the words to use.
Exactly. So perhaps commit to just those 2 for a week, even 10-15 minutes each, and see the immediate impact. Consistency, even in small doses, truly is key.
Sounds like solid advice. Start small, build momentum. What a deep dive today. Reaching C1 is, as we said, a significant achievement, but as we've discussed, it's truly just the start of a new adventure, isn't it?
It really is a refinement stage.
The journey now is about refining those tiny, often overlooked details across spontaneous conversation, nuanced vocabulary, effortless fluency, sophisticated grammar, impactful reading, compelling writing, and that essential cultural understanding.
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really about intentionally seeking out high-quality input, consistently challenging yourself with active output speaking and writing, and paying close attention to how native speakers truly use the language in all its messiness and nuance. The guide's powerful closing quote sums it up perfectly. Fluency isn't about speaking faster, it's about speaking better.
Oh, I like that. That's powerful.
It's a profound shift in focus, I think.
It truly is. It's about quality, precision, and naturalness, not just speed or sheer volume of words. So as you reflect on everything we've discussed today, listening in, What's one small, actionable change you'll make this week to start breaking through that C1 plateau?
Just one thing to start. We hope this deep dive helps you move confidently toward that next level of English mastery. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep finding the joy in mastering these nuances of English.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in.